Fear not, little flock. It is indeed the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. I am come this day in a consciousness of the inner beauty that belongs to each and every one of you, and to every life stream upon this planet. In reverence, in the spiritual hush of the ages, is found the peace which does pass understanding, is found in contemplation of the beauty of God, the power to transcend the mortal imperfections and to achieve the eternal glow ray of my life, which is your own. Have you thought, blessed ones, of your life as my own? Then won't you please be seated while you think upon it. I recall well as I wandered the hillsides of Judea, in gazing into the faces of the multitude, and as I gaze into your countenances this day, I am aware that some of you were there. Peace then, which passeth all understanding, comes to you today from the Father eternal, as the floral decor upon the mountains and hillsides, as the diadem-like decor of the sky at midnight, sparkled with the stars, shining like tiny dewdrops, cupped also within the flowers the morning glory as it rises and opens to express its adoration to the sun, is the great adoration flame within your hearts. This morning I am calling to your attention the requirements of the hour to adore the perfection of God that is within you. Amplification of this great power of life and light is not a mere worded expression. It is the eternal reality of existence and being. Mankind, through their familiarity with a world of form, have often tended to express the boredom of the mass mind, and therefore, without proper reverence, they are not able to express the eternal power of God unto salvation, which is a part of them and is never to be sundered from them, except they consciously turn away from it. It may seem difficult, blessed ones, you who love light, to conceive that life streams can consciously turn away from the light. But I ask you to pause to reflect that great wisdom, which is not complete, can sometimes be lured by the commonplace, and once it has fallen from the heights of the eternal snow-capped mountains of divinity, it walks upon the sun-baked plain, where the dried crust of the mud is caked upon the boots of mankind as they walk in the low places of earth. But whether in the lowlands or the highlands of the expression of life, they are all the children of the Eternal One. My love flows out today to the coolie in the rice paddies of Korea, Japan, or China, as well as to South America, and flows out equally potent to express to the people of the vast metropolis of Washington or New York City. My love is not confined to palaces, neither is it confined to great cathedrals. My love, by its very quality, is expansive, and yours ought to be also. When the floodgates of your heart are opened, when at last you pause to realize that all the limitations which you have imposed upon the great God-free light within you must be released and find expression, there pours through you at last a great, magnificent, sun-like love of the eternal, which sweeps forth from you with a dazzling ray, and is the salutation of the dawn to all you meet. Love then springs upward eternally in this hope, and the hope of God becomes the hope of man. Man claims for his own the qualities of perfection, which I knew, and which I am today. I am the light of the world, and the light which I am is the light which you are. In our sacred oneness, in the unbroken circle of our divinity, there is hope for all. I, Jesus, pour out to you this morning the fragrance of my being, my God design, my life, my energy. May it shed upon the pathway of the days and the years ahead a shining, guiding beam to all who will receive it and will lovingly appropriate its energies as cyclic energies coming forth periodically and yet pouring forth constantly to all who are able to receive it. Let no lamentation enter your heart this day or ever concerning those of your brethren who for some reason or another seem unwilling to follow the path of light. The path of light is given to all. All ought to walk upon it. No man ought to betray another. No man ought to betray least of all themselves. No man ought to seek but his own happiness. All ought to seek the universal expression of God happiness for one another. then the many-faceted talents of life shall come to the fore. And then in the social order of things, as well as the economic order and the spiritual order, there shall come into manifestation the kingdom of heaven upon this earth. I perceive the yearning in the hearts of men for an expression of divinity upon earth. Mankind realize that in form and matter and material substance there is merely an outpouring of divine energy, and that this energy was intended to express here upon earth as it does express in heaven. That it does not so express now is not the fault of heaven or heaven's love, but is merely a result of the petulancy, the childishness, the ignorance, and the frustrations of human expression. When mankind find that they are not able to express divinely because they are expressing so very humanly, they often become frustrated, and they weep, and they feel very helpless. When those moments come, if they will lift their gaze high into the realm of the ascended masters, recognizing themselves not as children of earthly parents, attached for a brief span to someone or something, but to their great life and light and love, which is their Father, even as it is mine, they shall find release from all outer conditions, and no power shall then have dominion over them except the power of God. I pause now that you may consider for a moment how great is the power of God. Consider how great the power of God is that manifested in the lives of many of the prophets and saints of old. Consider its power as it manifested in my own world. As I speak to you today, a great and magnificent company of angels, led by beloved Gabriel, are approaching the city of Washington at this very moment. If mankind were able to see them, they would envision that a great white cloud of light was blazing toward this city from out of the east. And they would then realize that the kingdom of heaven, the kingdoms of God, of the Lord, of the Christ of all, the universal Christ, is greater than all the kingdoms upon this earth. These angels are summoned here this morning by the joint energies of the great divine director, beloved Mother Mary, who was my earthly mother in my last embodiment previous to my ascension, and beloved El Morya, the Chohan of the first ray. They are also accompanied by beloved Archangel Michael, and they come today to protect the Immaculate Concept for all life within the borders of this great nation, America. And their mission is to bring a greater amplification of light to the city of Washington, that from this hub the spokes and rays of light shall go out and carry their radiation to the four corners of the earth. I am grateful today for your life streams, my beloved ones. I am grateful for those of you who in full faith can realize my capacity and power to speak to you today as to the people and multitudes of old upon the hillsides of Judea. I am grateful for the rapt attention which fans up like a flame from your heart to magnify the God within all. I am grateful for the power, the glory, the dominion, and the beauty that is in your countenance. And today I pray that the power and beauty and love of these angels shall entrance the God within you and draw that God flame within you which intends to express magnificently upward to meet the God flame in your presence. And there in that divine union there will be a welding together of the masculine and feminine qualities of your own life stream in one immaculate concept of perfection that shall produce for each of you a man-child, the Christ of you that shall universally rule. And ruling you universally shall give you peace, making of twain one new man. In this great concept of adoration to God, there is the completion of the eternal cycle. One, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Hear, O America, the Lord our God is one. From the schism and the division and the penetration of wrong human concepts into the mind that is intended to be so pure, mankind have fallen into a debacle of imperfection. Let them arise now in the coming year, and sweeping upon the great tide of the immaculate concept, let them all enter into the realization of our Father who art in heaven. Let this kingdom of heaven and beauty and peace and perfection that expresses in my heart and in the heart of every ascended being take dominion over you and rule supreme everywhere I am, today and forever. O blessed and beloved ones, in the kingdom of the Father there is only shining countenances. There are no dark or shadowed countenances in that kingdom. All are expressing as these candle flames, only more magnificently, the light and the perfection and the beauty which they reflect from the very face of God. Can you do less? Can you do more? In perfect balance of the threefold flame of your own divinity, I seal you in the immaculate concepted heart of love, conceived by the Holy Spirit and brought into eternal manifestation by the breath of the eternal Father, Mother, God. You are in truth the universal Christ as you drink the cup of which I also partook. My peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. The peace I give unto you is not the peace the world giveth. It is the peace of God. And I, Jesus, the Prince of Peace, speak to every human heart on this earth. My peace I leave with you. Thank you. Good morning. Every day. The peace of the diamond shining mind of God enfold every one of you with the will of the infinite cosmic purpose. Blessed and beloved ones, from Darjeeling I am come. I am come in God's holy name to salute the pilgrims of light, who are essentially sons and daughters of the Most High, aware of the beauty of the unfolding divinity of their being, and determined to let nothing deter them from manifesting that immortal perfection which I am, and which every one who doeth the will of the Father which is in heaven will become, and in becoming will, as the poets have stated, trail the clouds of glory from heaven upon the earth, which is their home. Won't you please be seated? How magnificent are the beauties that are manifest in the heavens. The more simple beauty is that great dome, that vaulted blue cathedral of light, which everyone perceives every day, reaching from the horizon to the zenith of the heavens. There the sun shines in its strength. There at night is traced a starry pattern of immortal perfection by the fingers of God. There the mind of man speculates upon the vastness of infinity, and there mankind is lost as an infinitesimal speck in a vast cosmos of light. You are, however, in and irregardless of that fact, held within the hollow of the hand of your own divinity, and you are as much a part of those vast cosmic reaches as you are of the tiny present, beginning with the center of your beating heart and ending with the periphery of the hairs of your head and the soles of your feet. Ladies and gentlemen, the tiny macrocosmic world of you becomes the great macrocosmic world of the universe as you enter into the consciousness of its perfection. Maintain the mind of an ant and express it. Who declared, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard"? Man declared this. God has not declared this. It is man, in his limited and finite concepts, that desires to conceive of himself as a small part of perfection, and finds perhaps it difficult to conceive of him becoming and expressing the all of perfectness. Shatter then this concept. Break down those walls as the walls of Jericho fell, and admit to the greatness of your being. You are magnificent God-free beings if you exalt the divinity within you. If you exalt, as many do, the tininess, the littleness, the smallness, which has been placed within you often by contagion and exposure to the minds of others, then you become little people as they are. And they are not destined to remain so. Therefore, why should you? Ladies and gentlemen, the will of God, which is good for you, is around you everywhere. And yet, in this boundless sea of reality, the unrealities of life and its fleeting existence continue to plague mankind contrary to the will of the cosmic purpose and contrary to the will of the Darjeeling Council. We are somewhat, it is true at times, a little, shall we say, outwardly in our outer perceptions, fatigued at the idea of mankind's continual bowing down to the will of the human. Now, we, of course, as God-free beings, are not fatigued ourselves in any sense, for we have the boundless power of the universe to draw from. But we are just a bit fatigued at the idea that humans continue to accept the burdens of miscreation, of imperfection, and of the mind of mortality, in preference to the glorious boon of the mind of God which surrounds them and which in reality they are using to express their littleness. Now, it is but a difference of an idea that can change the world of man from a puny world of tiny concerns to a vast world of cosmic purpose. The cosmic purpose is not given to one man and deprived from the life stream of another. It is the cosmic birthright of everyone, and everyone, in order to receive it, must knock upon the door of life, even as life knocks upon the door of their existence. I have observed for years the tininess and the curiousness and the oddness and the queerness that speaks and says, I think the whole world is queer but thee and me, and there are times that I think thou art about queer. And I am somewhat also fatigued at this idea, for mankind have no right to criticize one another unless they are perfect. And if they are perfect, then they no longer criticize. Do you see this, ladies and gentlemen? This is a very important point. Almost all of the religious activities of the day, which are in division and confusion, are so because of the concerns of personalities with entering the gates of heaven. Mankind is so fearful that they will not go to heaven that they will do almost anything in order to get there, including laying down their lives, their fortunes, and their pocketbooks, and oftentimes those whom they listen to are no more able to take them to heaven than they could take them to China. Ladies and gentlemen, the will of God is that which is your passport to heaven, and the will of God surrounds you at all times, waking and sleeping. It was to this will that the great Master Jesus called upon when he said, Our Father who art in heaven. You then, as children of the Most High God, expressing the Christ purpose, must also pray and say, Not my will, but thine be done. And then, when your will becomes the will of God in expression, everywhere that you move, a change takes place within you, for you no longer suffer the pains of countering the will of God with your own human will. For your human will has become the will of God, and the resistance is broken down between the two. There is no struggle. Now, it is absolutely true that the will of God does not struggle with the will of man. It is to the contrary, the will of man which struggles with the will of God. For the will of God is a great sea of divine love and energy and illumination, pouring forth at all times with the fullness and power of perfection. But the will of man is a sea of seething emotions and confusions, and it is almost unpredictable. Beloved Saint Germain declared that it was unpredictable, and so it really is. But because we have a little hope at times, we sometimes think that perhaps we can predict for some individual, and there are times that even we, in our predictions, find that we have erred only in the sense that mankind elect to, as it were, jump out from beneath our thumb, that is, from the thumb of our prediction, and they decide that they are going to do something entirely different than the very concept that we thought they were going to do. Do you see? And so even divinity itself cannot predict the unpredictable will of man. Now, if this vacillation in which mankind find themselves is so confusing and so utterly unreliable, would it not be a great merciful release then if life were to cast itself upon the very heart of the eternal and say, Not my will, but thine be done? Would it not be a great release to a life stream to feel the great surge of the will of God flowing through his being? Would it not be a great blessing for a life stream to no longer depend upon human will and human knowledge, or to please some individual, or to strive for some earthly goal? Would it not be a great blessing to realize that the will of God is being done? Remember, as I recall for you and recreate a scene, the beloved Jesus standing in the river Jordan before John the Baptist. Remember the voice from heaven that spoke, saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Would you not like to hear the voice of God speaking to you personally and saying, "Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased"? Then adore the will of God. Adore the will of God, and behold how conditions will change for you. As I stand here in our palace of light in Darjeeling, conscious of the wind whistling through the pine trees in the mountainous regions surrounding our citadel of light, I think of how on the gentle air is wafted the perfume from the mountaintops, until the perfume of Darjeeling's splendor, of Darjeeling's woods and hills, is carried to America and around the world. The will of God is wafted from heart to heart in like manner. And yet, as it passes, so many are unconscious of it. So many do not realize that this great treasure has passed through the area where they abide physically. They are not cognizant. They do not know that this has occurred. Several months ago, beloved K-17 entered the Department of Justice, known to you as the FBI, here in Washington. He spent 3 hours within that building and was seen by over 140 people, and yet none of them recognized that he was there. His purpose was the protection of America against the communistic horde. Blessed and beloved ones, so the ascended masters often walk among mankind unknown and unrecognized, and almost as the perfume of the pines upon the wind is the coming of those born of the Spirit. Man knows not from whence they come, neither do they know where they go. And yet all of you who ponder your own destiny and your own coming and your own going, realize that you did not come into being through the actual body and being of your physical mothers. You realize that you are but condensed energy, physically speaking, and that that which is the life within you, which beats your heart and sustains you, is the only reality of you. And that life is God. Seeing you are so close and so much akin then to the will of God, ought it not to be a great boon to make friends with that will, to enter into a consciousness of its immanence, to feel the penetration of its immortal substance, to cognize the power of God, to separate the sensuality of humanity from the divinity of the light within your being? Expand, expand, expand in the name of God, then, O thou immortal threefold flame. Expand, 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 O thou will of God, thou will of the cosmic purpose among the nations of the earth, and cut the world free from discord, cut the churches free from discord, cut the metaphysical groups free from discord, cut all life expressions free from discord, and let straight spines, uplifted heads, eyes gazing up toward the heights, recognize that the cradle of divinity is humanity, and that in the cradle of humanity shall come forth a man-child that shall govern the evolutions of this earth in accordance with the realms of light's perfection and the laws of God. The laws of God are exact. The laws of God cannot be aborted by mankind, no matter how they may fancy they may do so. For all such fancy is but folly. The only reality under heaven is the cosmic law. And only when you walk according to the cosmic law do you actually walk at all. All else is but the crippled limpings of individuals who have not yet learned to walk uprightly. When they shall so learn, a race of gods shall walk the earth and shall shatter the material illusions of life, which tell mankind that they are puny, which tell mankind that they are but ants, that they are but beasts, that they are unrighteous. And in their righteous provocation they shall no longer point the finger at one another and thus ensnare themselves, but they shall point toward their God presence and say, there I am, and there I shall be. There is my treasure, and there is my heart, and there is my life, and there is my love, and there I go, for I am ascending now into that perfection. With all the beauty and the love of the Darjeeling Council, I call to the great angels of the sacred will of God, to the brothers of the Darjeeling Diamond Heart, to manifestly express to you tonight the immortal glory of the perfection of life. Take courage, take heart, beloved ones, the moment now that you seize upon this precious diamond and place it within your heart and say, O thou will of the diamond heart of God's eternal purpose, I am enduring all hardness required to make me a good soldier of the cosmic purpose. I am determined to endure all hardness the great cosmic law will require me. I am determined to watch with the great cosmic masters every hour until I have manifested their perfection. I am their perfection now, and I ever shall be the perfection of God without limit. When you shall make this declaration and mean it, I think that the whole earth shall be so vastly improved that you yourselves will scarcely recognize it. Why not then begin anew this coming year? Why not begin tonight? Why not begin this hour? Why tarry when all of the great cosmic life that surrounds you from the angelic realms and the realms of light's perfection blazes forth around this room tonight? And as though it were a great cosmic amphitheater, the cosmic choirs herald the coming of the coming race, the race of perfection. You, ladies and gentlemen, including one who is in this place, who shall bear a child, are blessed this night by a great angelic blessing. And this blessing has a meaning you know not of, but you shall know its meaning as you decipher the meaning of the flame of immortality which blazes supreme within you and manifests without as the will of God. From the brothers of the Diamond Heart, from the Temple of Light in Darjeeling, from the palaces of the Brotherhood in the many focuses of light upon this planet, the radiating will of God bounces off and flashes out and floods the world tonight with a special dispensation in anticipation of the coming year. Let the world take heed, for the voices of its divinity perform an orchestration that shall mold such harmony into this world as to make it the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. Thank you. I bow to the will of God within you. Good night. patience do her perfect work. Let patience expand that flame of eternal life within your hearts. Beloved ones, won't you please be seated? To exalt the deity, to expand the threefold flame without limit, is the lot of every one who desires to amplify the Christ nature. With the beginning of the coming new year, I am hopeful, together with others of the ascended host, that the mankind upon this planet shall themselves take an increased measure of devotion to the light, and shall take into account their responsibilities to expand the light of God. The parable of the good steward, uttered by the beloved ascended Master Jesus, so well expresses the idea of stewardship that I would suggest that those among you who are but vaguely familiar with it will take an opportunity in the forthcoming hours or days to become somewhat better acquainted with that parable. You are stewards of the mysteries of God. To you is given to know much of the inner teaching which has been lost for generations from the mankind of earth, but is released today and has been released now for many years in one portion or another to various chelas of the ascended host. Ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility is awesome. As you enter the new year, bearing in mind the great power which was bestowed upon you by the fiat given during the July class, the fiat that enabled you to express the power of 10,000 times 10,000 in your decrees, you will realize that it is up to you as individuals to take into account the tremendous responsibility you have, for each one of you can well give account for 1,000,000 life streams if you will determine that you are going to faithfully execute calls to light daily, and know that those calls does compel the answer. I have decided today, in view of the magnificent discourse given last evening by the great divine director, to speak to you somewhat concerning the great cosmic responsibility that you have. You are blessed with a violet flame, and this is a great blessing indeed. Last evening the great divine director gave you a message of great magnetic moving inspiration. I feel today the desire to let you pause somberly, as it were, for a moment and reflect upon the great blessings which life has given to you if you will prove yourselves divine men and women enough to accept the full responsibility which you have received. Now there are those that I detect for a moment that tend to say, "O Lord, I am not worthy," and I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, is this not just a bit silly? Would it not be ever so much better to say, "I am worthy," and then to realize that you can vest yourselves with the divine worthiness? Certainly, the human self of mankind cannot claim to equality with God, but the God self ought not to claim equality with the human, for certainly it cannot be debased. It is true that that which descended unto earth shall also ascend, but I think also that it shall take with it the perfected outer personality and individuality, which shall thus express in the magnificent ritual of the ascension the eternal freedom which God intends all to enjoy. I am come this day with the fullness of the power of holy freedom for the earth. I am come into this room today to expand the threefold flame within the hearts of each of you, and also to expand the power of the violet flame throughout the world. When I served in France long ago at the court of the French kings and gave my advice as the Wundermann of Europe, few really believed that I was real. And therefore I do not expect, ladies and gentlemen, that some of you will give any greater credence to my reality than that which they gave in that day. And yet Encyclopedia Britannica saw fit to publish somewhat a biography of my then existent life. I wish to point out that it is unbroken, and that I am today just as alive as I was then, and now dwelling in an octave of absolute God freedom from all limitation, and yet I feel no sense of special or specific humility in coming to you, for I salute the God flame within you, and therefore I recognize you as perfect beings today, and coming therefore into a council of my peers, I choose to point out to you that as co-creators with God, you are able, by the expanding power of light, which dissipates shadows, to create changes in this world of form which shall affect peoples, governments, kingdoms, and the happiness of all life upon earth. Blessed ones, if you stop and pause and reflect on the great destiny of America, you will realize that many life streams did give their fortunes and their lives and their sacred honor to pledge it to the cause of freedom. This great measure of devotion can be today alive within your hearts. And as you enter the new year, you can contribute to the spiritual America, to the America of light, the fullness of your own intense devotion and holy zeal for the cause of freedom. Mankind, in their vacillations and their self-seeking and serving, in ignorance, have failed to take advantage of 1/10 of the opportunities which life has offered them. There are periods when they alternate between the idea that they are abject and humble sinners, and when they decide that perhaps they have made a little progress and ought to exalt themselves above the stars. I know that this is perhaps a rather extreme example, but ladies and gentlemen, it is a true one, for individuals do tend at times to depreciate themselves almost to the point of no return, and then again to exalt themselves to the point where they assume that they are almost gods. This is not the correct balance, ladies and gentlemen, which the ascended masters wield or feel. Neither is it correct for your life stream. You are divine beings. You are wearing physical forms. Your destiny is equal with my own, and with all the ascended host, and with the Christ, and with every member of the great white brotherhood. It is but a matter of your realization of that fact, and your drawing forth the supreme and blessed energies which we drew forth, and then the qualifying of those energies by goodness, by spirituality, by application, by zealousness, and by love, until you have washed yourselves clean by the power of the sacred fire, by the power of transmutation from every vestige of that which binds or tends to hurt or to destroy in the holy mountain of God. What is the holy mountain of God? Does not a mountain rise from the plain? Then consider for a moment that you are a mountain, and that you are rising from the plane of mere physical existence to find your summit high in the clouds of glory of the cosmic reality of your being. You are not destined to be clods, to be trampled underfoot by some senseless, unreal condition which you have unwittingly drawn into your own world by your attention upon human idiosyncrasies, human happenstance, ideas about you. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is one thing that I would like to point out as you enter this new year, it is the simple fact that I do not desire you to continue to mimic the mankind of earth. I expect, and this is reasonable to suppose, that you shall, if you desire to copy anyone, anywhere, shall copy the ascended masters, and shall determine to be like us. For then I am certain that you will no longer give your attention to the petty differences and the squabbles which the mankind of earth continually engage in, and which center around their own human personality and its desire for individual self-expression. It is certainly a great blessing to life when you serve life and love it free. You do not need to expect mankind to pay you adulation or attention. For the moment that you take your energies and draw them and summon them from on high and qualify them with light and send them forth to bless and heal the world, immediately, by the power of light, the karmic board, whose records are inviolate and perfect, blesses you and returns to you without limit, fully amplified, all the good which you have done, and then in addition to that credits a bonus to your causal body, which remains to heal and to bless your life and all life everywhere forever. This is the wonders of infinity, the glory of God. So many have applied their consciousness to the laws of karma and have considered it to be an iron band which they could not break. I bring you renewed hope today in the power of the violet flame, the flame of love, the flame of forgiveness, the flame of divine freedom, the flame of cosmic honor. In this cosmic honor flame, which returns to the Father the glory and removes from lesser images all power vested in their imperfections, there is the power to rise to the pinnacle of perfection when it is properly applied. You are destined, therefore, to put your attention upon the light, to realize that karmic conditions and the karmic law was not created in order to bind, but it was created in order to administer absolute justice to mankind so that they could attain their ascension. The great cosmic law does not desire to whip. It does not desire to cause pain or punishment specifically to mankind, but it only uses the whiplashes of karma in order to spur mankind to return to the heart of God so that they can find their freedom and surcease from distress and no longer walk in limitation. This is the cosmic honor flame of God. Return to the Father the honor due him. Do not think, do not portray the Father as a being who desires to punish, who creates laws which are so rigid that no one is able to walk in them. Blessed and beloved ones, realize in cosmic honor that God honors you, each and every one, and all life without limit, with all the power of his eternal perfection. It is up to you, strictly up to you, to appropriate it, for the cosmic law expects you to do it. It is your cosmic responsibility and your divine right. It is the divine right that makes of every man a king and makes of every woman a queen. It is the intended plan. It is the manifestation of the kingdom of God. And if you are to accept the tokens of our love, you will open the doorways and the gateways of your heart, and you will realize that the Christ consciousness floods the world with life and light and love every moment of every day and every night. You will realize that there is no dawn lacking in the glory of the noonday. You will realize there is no midnight so dark that the perfect, unfailing light of God does not dominate it. Even in outer space, there is no shadow or darkness. The light is everywhere, and the light is supreme. But in your recognition and amplification of that light is the power that will bring you perfection and freedom from fear, that will enable you to cast out all traces of cosmically misdirected energy which you have drawn forth and then qualified with imperfection through your many embodiments. Blessed and beloved ones, it is up to you, strictly up to you, for the cosmic law is perfect. It does not err. It cannot err. And it is to this law that you must pay your allegiance. But when you, as individuals, misdirect the cosmic law by your free wills, you cannot expect that the world is going to express the perfection of which it is capable. This day, as a result of the great dictation given here last evening by the great divine director, the atmosphere of this city is cleansed considerably from all human effluvia, which has accumulated for quite some time in this place and in this city as a result of the political machinations of the various individuals who seek to control the destiny of America. I expect this year to give the legislators a great blessing, that when they return and begin their work, they shall find the capital of the United States is swept clean of the great accumulation that has been here for years and years, and they will find a new inspiration to guide this great nation forward in its march of progress, so that the world can be benefited by that beloved America, which is a cup of light from which all nations may drink. An America which corruptly seeks to aggrandize the poor, which desires to cause the smaller nations of the world to suffer, is not intended to exist. And if the businessmen of this country shall continue to work corruptly in the dark and shadow, they shall reap the benefit of their own wrongdoings. But if the people of this great nation shall pull together and put their energies into the great violet fire cauldron, and determine that their energies are going to be pure, that the economic lifeblood of this nation is going to flow free, then this nation shall bring forth an abundance of great prosperity without end. And the good that is the cup of light in America shall flow forth for the healing of all nations. This is the destiny that is your own. It is my destiny also, for I have pledged myself and my sacred honor for 2,000 years to guide this world as God freedom. I am this day blazing forth the divine substance into your midst. I am calling for the instantaneous transmutation of those elements within your personality which are not the image of the Christ. I am calling for the transmutation of all those elements within society which are not the image of the Christ. I am calling for the creation of many men and women who will be wonder men and wonder women of the world today, having and expressing divine love in bodies of youthfulness and purity, in consciousnesses which are able to reflect the absolute perfection of the light. This is your destiny. It supersedes all others. It is the perfection without limit which you can call forth and register within your heart first, and then expand to register within every portion of your world to the very perimeter of your existence. And you will find also that you will be able to expand that existence until it reaches out toward the farthest reaches of infinity. And in gratitude you will adoringly kneel to your own God presence I am, and say, of a truth, this man, this woman, I am a son of God. I am a child of the light. I am devoted to my perfection, and I am the image of that perfection here and now. I am all that God intends me to be, and ever shall I be thus, and never shall I return to the state of human limitation. Will you join me now, each one of you, and give audible voice with me to this declaration of the faith, and say, I am a son of God? And will you, when you say it, believe it? Accept it then and be free, and let your light expand without limit until all upon earth shall know, when they meet you and look and gaze into your faces that you are in truth that which you now declare yourselves to be. I am a son of God. I accept this with full power. I accept this with full power. And I am free. And I am free. All mankind shall be free. All mankind shall be free as they accept the great divine law of their own I am presence, as they accept the great divine law of their own I am presence. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Won't you please be seated? As I take my leave of you this afternoon, I choose to appraise myself of your devotion. Witness that in this place there are many devoted life streams who have for many years served the light without ceasing. I salute then the God within you. May there be a leaping of the sacred flame within your heart in cosmic recognition of the devotion you have paid to the cause of freedom. And to all others who aspire to this great cause, may the flame within your heart leap and expand for the glory of God and the immortal perfection which you are. Ladies and gentlemen, in the name of eternal courtesy, profound blessings to all of you and to all mankind, not only for the coming year, but for all eternity. I thank you and bid you good afternoon. Greetings and peace, O beloved and dedicated souls, many of whom I perceive have long followed the star of your God being. From the immortal realm of light's perfection, I am come this night to salute you in the sacred quest. A living soul, conceived by its Creator in the image of divine perfection, begins the trek, the journey into the realm of physical embodiment, and then there comes into manifestation the seeking of that life stream for its divine source. The hunger and thirst of the truly dedicated soul knows no bounds, and with the beginning of this New Year class, as I salute you from the realms of love profound, I am come to remind you of the soul's immortal quest for its reunion with that divine love which gave it birth. There are those of you bereft of home and mother. There are those of you separated from friends and loved ones by schisms and divisions. There are those of you who feel the weariness of your physical form as it journeys toward its goal of eternal perfection. But, blessed ones, I commend you to the immortal love of God, to the immortal love of your divine presence, to the immortal perfection of the realms of eternal life and light. No man has a greater advocate, no man has a greater friend than his own divine God self. This divine self, with its many facets of light, is not only your cosmic mother, your cosmic father, your brother, your sister, and your friend. It is the lawgiver of your life and your judge. But when it is your judge, it also is your advocate, for it is the advocate of the eternal will, smiling into perfection in your world, all the bountiful expansion of heaven's own glory. The glory of heaven, the glory of the immortal spheres, the power of the sacred fire without limit, is given to all who eventually shall yield with that note of divine compassion that takes note of the power of heaven as being supreme, and yields therefore its consciousness to its great God self. It shall find bestowed upon it a gift without limitation. Limitation is brought about of necessity. Beloved ones, consider for a moment the conditions of chaos that would prevail in the world today if each mankind and each individual life stream were given the power to control the elements and the weather. One might say, today shall be sunny and fair. Another might say, I desire precipitation for my crops. Another might declare, my enemies have caused me to be in a bad mood, and I would like to see a storm. All mankind might have different conceptions, beloved ones, because they would not yet have striven to the point where they could attune with the perfection of the one mind of God. And therefore limitation comes into expression as a quality of the mercy of God to temper the wind to the shorn lamb, that individuals shorn of their spiritual power, as Samson was shorn of his when his hair was cut off by Delilah, so mankind might be limited in their power to wreak destruction and havoc, and might find the renewal of their power and their light and their glory as they come into the fullness of that love that casts out all fear, that is itself a sense of divine perfection, not only for each individual life stream, but for every one whom it meets. Holding therefore the immaculate concept, each one is able to blaze forth a star of hope into its fellow men, and they in return reflect back the same love which is rayed out to them. Take heed, ladies and gentlemen, of this hour. These days are days of joy. They are austere in the sense that they spell an end to human discord. Human discord has asserted itself by human misqualification. It has stood up and declared itself to be an invincible army, that it has power, that it has body, that it has substance. I am come tonight to declare that it has none, and those among you who are wise will acknowledge that no power but God has control of your lives, of your mind, of your affairs, and that you are this day the omnipresent perfection of God, made manifest in you by accepting your own eternal robes of righteousness and walking in the consciousness that is the life. During this Christmas season past, many realized for a moment, in a mystical degree of attunement, somewhat a measure of their concept and ours of the Christ. This flowed through in Christmas blessings to many throughout the world. It was not sustained long enough. Already, even before the season is scarce vanished, individuals have returned in consciousness to the puny and weak ideas to which they have given their vitality. Withdraw then from those imperfect images, those engraven images, which in truth are not the image of God. All power you have vested in them, and give it and return it unto your own hallowed and beloved God's self. Then you shall arise on wings of light. You shall take renewed hope, and you shall expand it in the hearts of one another. And you shall comfort those that mourn, and you shall fulfill all of the expressions of the Christ in his Sermon upon the Mount. Beloved ones, to be a Christ among mankind in this day and age is a very serious expression, for it does make you different. Individuals who have fear of human censure are perhaps not destined at this moment to fulfill the full expression of this light. But those brave souls who are able to realize that the immortal power which gave them birth and which sustains every ascended being is able to keep them in a far more perfect way than any human concept, will take renewed hope and rise. These individuals will put on the belt of eternal perfection of the will of God, which I am wearing, and they will blaze forth the blue, the true blue of the will of God in every direction from their being. The sacred jewels which I wear for a belt are a manifestation of my guard. They are a manifestation of the guard of heaven. And I am directing tonight mighty light rays from the eternal realms to saturate and saturate and saturate your consciousness with a realization what perfection means, with a realization of what protection means. And someday you will know that perfection and protection are one and the same. Mankind, of course, like to experiment with words, and they have an idea somewhere along the line that perfection is a different word than protection. But I ask you, blessed ones, if you do not have absolute protection when you are completely dwelling in perfection? Is this not true? I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, I am the great divine director. I come not tonight into this room to cause those who are curious to have any misconceptions about this beloved messenger through whom I am speaking. I come not to bring any element of human thought, feeling, or discordant condition, but I am come to bring a rectification of those conditions which ought never to have manifested. Mankind, in their puny, small human ideas, have dared to be presumptuous and defy their own God divinity, their own perfection. Of a truth, they knew not what they did, neither do they at the present day, who defy their divinity or their God presence, know what they do. The individual who took the life of Mahatma Gandhi did not realize what he was doing. He did not realize the great perfection that was manifesting in that soul. And so it has been down through history that those who have taken the lives of holy men and pure individuals who are dedicated to the cosmic purposes have often thought that they did service to God. Human misconceptions and error have caused persecutions of the righteous, and the afflictions of the human venom of individual tongues have often lashed out in complete injustice against individuals who themselves were before their own God presence holy, acceptable, and righteous in the eyes of the Eternal. Ladies and gentlemen, you are ladies and gentlemen of heaven. You are not individuals who are destined to walk among the mud and then be covered with the mud. You are individuals who belong to the courts of heaven, to the realms of eternal divinity and perfection. If you shall recognize this, you shall not trail your garments in the dust, but you shall keep your gaze, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to emphasize this, riveted. Now, those of you who are familiar with a riveter know that red-hot bolts are passed through steel beams and then pounded with electric hammers and air hammers until they are completely sealed into those beams and actually blend with the beams holding them together. Many rivets are used, and the process is not consummated in a moment. In the great city of New York, skyscrapers which are towering over Manhattan are themselves reflections of the labors of countless individuals. Mankind themselves, in building their cities and their homes, have gradually erected those homes. Those of you who are mothers know the countless hours spent in training your children in the way in which they should go. Those of you who are accustomed to the skill of sewing with a needle and thread know the countless hours needed to weave or to repair a torn garment. Blessed ones, when I say then to rivet your attention upon that which is above, I mean just that if it is necessary. It is far better that you rivet your attention there than that you rivet it elsewhere. For you will never, and I emphasize this, never in all creation make a mistake by putting your attention upon your presence. All error is introduced by lowering the gaze to look upon that which appears to be human misconduct. And human misconduct is exactly what it is declared to be. It is qualified by human qualities, and human qualities run rampant around this world, and it is that which the violet flame is destined to transmute into ascended master light substance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I could snap my fingers at this moment and remove all the karma from every one of you, and you would make your ascension right here tonight, I am sure that there are very few of you who understand that, would object in the least to it being done. But the great cosmic law must be fulfilled, and it is not meet that I should violate the eternally established laws of the cosmos. And therefore I am determined this night to give you the task yourselves of accepting from your own presence the onus and burden of the moment, to fulfill for yourselves the working out of your own salvation. I, however, am pledging to you my hand, my heart, and my head in giving you whatever assistance the great cosmic law requires. Note, if you will invoke it from me and call it forth, because the great cosmic law requires that the call compels the answer, that you ask that you may receive, that you acknowledge that you may live, and therefore the acknowledgement of the sacred fire, the flame of eternal truth within your heart, is to call it into greater manifestation. If then that flame be amplified without limit, it stands to reason that it becomes a conflagration, and this is a great fire. And if there is a great fire, it is like unto God. For the injunction has been declared of old, our God is a consuming fire. The fire of Almighty God, ladies and gentlemen, is invoked. And when it is invoked, it quite naturally consumes all unlike itself. Now I am sure that if you have individuals in embodiment who are so much unlike God, that if this fire were to consume them, they would not even remain at all. They would not want that to happen. And therefore, life streams must understand that the transformation of a life stream does not always take place in a moment. Individual karmas must be reckoned with, and past embodiments must be considered. It is not, however, necessary for individuals to dwell upon these conditions and become morbid about them. After all, beloved ones, you cannot change the past. It is only the future that you can change. But the past can be transmuted by the violet flame, and then it has no longer any power over you. Therefore, those who know this great law are destined to become free if they will use the great law which is made known unto them. If they do not use this law, do they have anyone else to blame but themselves? I ask you, and what is the end result? The end result, beloved ones, is merely delay. The end result is delay, I repeat. And it is delay and procrastination which go hand in hand. Now the great cosmic law may be said to be almost infinitely patient, and so individuals have tampered with this law and have actually flaunted this great law through embodiment after embodiment. And then quite suddenly they come into manifestation and they decide that they are going to change all these conditions in the twinkling of an eye. They expect the great cosmic law to immediately advance them to the position of an avatar, and they think because they call forth light, that light ought to immediately manifest in the physical realm of earth because they have called it forth. If they call forth a morsel of bread, they expect the bread to come down from heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any idea how much divine energy is required to lower one crumb of bread into physical embodiment? This is connected with the mystery of life itself in manifestation. It requires a great deal of divine energy to bridge the gap from our octave and realms of light into the human. And therefore, unless there is a more than ordinary reason why we ought to do this, we do not as a rule produce miracles before mankind's vision. We rather open up the spiritual eyes of individuals so that they are enabled to see into our octave and our level. And then they see these great cosmic miracles taking place at our level. And it is not necessary, do you see, for us to produce them on the physical plane. Now, we are perfectly capable of doing it. And it is possible for a being who is very close to Christhood to perform it with ease. But, beloved ones, for us to step through the veil into physical manifestation is often a great shock to the physical vehicles of the Chela, as well as expanding a great deal of our energy, which we can better use for the transmutation and healing of the world at inner levels. The emotional bodies of mankind are in a frightful state at present. The pull and the haul of human trafficking in emotions is almost an avalanche of deceit and destruction and confusion. And I am determined during this class to call forth as much energy as I can from our level in response to the calls of the student body, so that we can charge forth into the earth a great sea, a great sea, a great sea of light, and that this light can engulf the consciousness of mankind and flood the earth with all the transcendent light of 10,000 times 10,000 cosmic suns, and bless the world, and heal the world, and elevate the world and raise the God in man into manifestation until the dross and the so-called evil no longer appears, but is now become ascended master light substance. I wonder if those of you who are here know the meaning of transformation in a human countenance. I wonder how many of you can conceive of what it means to a guru, to a cosmic being, to look down into the face of a chela that he has known and loved for countless embodiments and see at last the marks of a Christ coming into manifestation. How many of you are able to know the meaning of how a spiritual teacher or a guru feels toward that chela, whether ascended or unascended? I think if you will ponder this, you will realize that there is a spiritual elation which comes to a master, even an ascended being, when he sees transformation reflected in the face of a chela. If this be true, and I tell you tonight that it is, then consider your eternal Father, your own great God presence in its great all-enfolding, all-encompassing love as it outreaches toward that celestial star of your being, that great God flame within you, and pours out its transcendent love and invokes in your being, in your presence, in your world, in your thoughts, in your feelings, in all of you, the image of its own perfection. Consider the love of that God presence. Consider that love as it expands and enfolds you. Consider how it reaches out, how transcendent it is, how ennobling, how elevating, and consider also its cosmic purposes. Now, I do not intend to weary you this night with a long dissertation which might not have the profound effect upon you which I desire, but I am determined to give you enough of my energy tonight so that you will say, the great divine director is serious. Many times, because we come with buoyancy and levity, individuals sit in the audience and they smile and they say to themselves, oh well, we feel very good while he's here. But after we return to our human consciousness, we seem to lose all of that. Beloved ones, you do not need to lose the buoyancy which I am anchoring in your feeling world tonight. If you will call to your own great God presence to anchor my feeling there, and will call to me to renew it moment by moment when you feel it slipping away, all you have to do is say, beloved great divine director, preceding it of course by beloved great God presence which I am, bring into manifestation your buoyant feeling and hope of ascended master love. Let me feel the all-encompassing love of my great God self. Let me feel the arms of my presence enfolding me. Let me feel the dazzling shower of its great protective garments descending upon me. When you make this call with a faith in God, believing that you shall receive it, immediately it shall descend. Now there are those who say, yes, I made the call, and I did not feel the same great shower of overpowering love which I felt while you were speaking to me. Beloved ones, human consciousness, through embodiment after embodiment, by riveting its attention upon the human, has turned itself inside out, and it needs to be turned back right side out. Simple, you say. Oh yes, beloved ones, but what a profound effect simple things have upon a life stream's happiness. Happiness, beloved ones, is no accident. It comes into being because you are doing the will of God, because you are manifesting the eternal hope. Do you think when you shake off, in the words of the beloved Francis Bacon, this mortal coil, and you enter into bodies of light substance, that you would be happy and qualified to dwell there, unless you had already rectified those human conditions which kept you riveted to the earth? Beloved ones, it is necessary that you consciously and willingly lay aside the weights that beset you and call for the transmutation of all shadowed substance in your worlds. I cannot do this for you. Your own great God self has declared it to you from the beginning. It has declared, I am God. I am light. I am the light of the world, that lighteth every man that cometh into manifestation. Every man, then, is illumined by his God presence. But, beloved ones, that individual, because they have free will, will often use that free will. And I say to you, they misuse it by misqualifying that divine energy. And then there comes into manifestation a rigidity about their consciousness which is completely foreign to the great God freedom which they once knew at inner levels. Now, unless those conditions be changed, unless individuals shall accept the perfection of their presence, they can never know their freedom. You may say those are harsh words, but, beloved ones, no ascended being, even your own great God presence, cannot perform this service of love for you. You must elect to return to the Father's arms. The prodigal son is exactly that which its name implies. It is an individual who has squandered its great divine energies upon riotous living, and it must return happily to the heart of the Father and receive there the manifest tokens of divine love and esteem which replace and restore that one to the throne of its own great divinity. I am aware that individuals sometimes are not fully conscious of the meaning of my coming to you in the world of form and speaking to you. Beloved ones, those of you who may not understand the fullness of how this is accomplished, I speak directly to you. Know that with God all things are possible, and we have bridged across the gap, the gulf between our octave of light and the human realms, and we have conveyed to you tonight a manifest token of our esteem and our love. As you go to your homes this night, consider that you have received an alabaster box of precious ointment. Consider that you have an oil of precious anointing with which you can comfort those moments of dullness and distress when you are no longer aware of the great bands of heaven's love. Consider then that you shall at that moment anoint yourself with this manifestation of the eternal purpose, and finding then surcease from discomfort, you shall once again know the meaning of divine love, of divine perfection, of the eternal spheres. I call now to the cave of symbols, to the angels under my control, and I ask in the name of God the Eternal One that the perfection embodied in those symbols shall flow and flow and flow out into the emotional world of mankind and to the students who are present at this class, and shall cause at inner levels that they shall receive the secret key to translate those symbols within the cave of symbols into a meaningful translation of the divine, eternal, creative purposes of Almighty God. During that period of silence, I uttered a fiat at higher levels. It was a clarion call like the voice of a trumpet. And with that call, there came into instantaneous manifestation the fulfillment of my fiat to those angels who are under my command and by the power of my love. The command which I exercise is wholly that of divine love, and each angel knows that I would kneel to the great divinity which is their flaming heart and substance on the instant, for I am but one immortal expression of eternal perfection. The title, the great divine director, which was given to me, I gracefully give to the eternal God. I am but his instrument, but I pray that I may be eternally that instrument, and I pray that you may learn to be a self-same instrument of eternal perfection, until all in this whole expanding cosmos may know more, more, and more of the transcendent, infinite, eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving mind of God, which I am. Thank you, and good night. With a mantle of cosmic beauty and perfection, I am come this night in the memory of my beloved Son and the glory of his nativity. As I ponder the magnificence of that perfection, gathered and solidified within the tiny form which I held in my arms, I am aware now of the expanding glory that comes through the portal of birth, through every child held in every mother's arms and clasped to the heart of every mother. I am a cosmic mother, and my infinite compassion in the holy name of God enfolds the world this night as it did that night so long ago, when the glorious child laid within my arms was yet the fulfillment of a promise, the fulfillment which had not yet come to fruition, but which was destined to make its mark upon the annals of eternity, to chronologize for all mankind the beauty and the perfection of the eternal spheres of happiness and God love. The aura of the Christ that surrounded my son is the aura of the cosmic Christ of everyone. For in no way was his life unique in the sense that it was separate and apart from that of every other life stream whom God hath created. The only begotten of the Father, my beloved one, is the cosmic Christ, the light of every man who comes into the world. And therefore, as I come to you in this hemisphere and area, this starry night of beauty and loveliness, I come carrying in my heart the memory of the eternal songs which the angelic host sung together that night, in a magnificent oration of light to the sons of light, the sons of the morning, the sons of the dawn, and the glory of the spheres of ever-living perfection. Tonight, as I am speaking to you, this light of the Christ has not bedimmed itself in any way, but it shines evermore toward that eternal perfection. The open heart's door beckoneth this cosmic Christ light within to the portals of each life stream, and therefore the enfolding of each one in the swaddling garments of their great cosmic beingness is dependent upon their acceptance of the momentum of life's perfection, which can never be requalified by the human. This is a mantle of God design, the perfection of those spheres of love which are and exist and shall be forever. Beloved ones, I recall in the subsequent days that this child grew and waxed strong, and as the magnificence that is the God within him came to full stature of devotion and perfection, I too took courage, and I came to magnify the Lord more each day. As I stood in adoration at the ritual of each dawn, I was thankful with a gratitude to the Eternal that my son was a reflection of the golden aurora of each dawn. I was thankful that in him and around him was the light of perfection, and that those people who sat in darkness might see this great light, and that the perfection of the Christ might be made known, that the historical drama might come to have a personal and a real meaning to the hearts of mankind. It does not matter whether it was this child, this son of mine, cradled in life's perfection in the manger of Bethlehem, or whether it was a man-child born to a mother upon the Mayflower when it first journeyed across the ocean to the shores of this land of America. It is still a man-child destined to be a son of light, a son of God, a person destined to accept all that the Father intended that one to accept. And therefore, little ones of God, consider the destiny of yourself. Ponder how that you also were held in a mother's arms. And this mother, in her inner vision, if not in her outer concepts, was able to perceive, as I did, the great glory that you should be. And thus, in each fresh re-embodiment, a soul is once again clothed with the rite and the ritual of a mother's love. And so the great, all-enfolding, all-surging glory of the eternal Mother comes into manifestation, and the light in life and love is expanded without limit. And my soul tonight doth rejoice in God anew. And I sing again with those hosts of my beloved Raphael the song of newness and the song of perfection, the song of love and the song of hope that is instilled into a mother's heart by her own latent divinity, blossoming like a rose or an unfolding lily The perfume of its fragrance spreads across the years, and that man-child comes to a destiny at last, whereby the eternal Father stands there in the seal of great cosmic approval to bless that one with the anointing of the whole Spirit, the fullness of its own immortal perfection and cosmic destiny. Can then anyone place a blot or a mark against that perfect soul? I think not. All blots and all marks, beloved ones, are placed there by mankind, and by their criticism, their condemnation, and their wrong judgment. Did not my Son declare, "Let him that is without sin among you first cast the stone at her"? And did they not all, vanquished within themselves by the conviction of their own wrongdoing, turn away with great sorrow and realize that they could not condemn this woman? And so my Son spake to them and said, "Woman, where are thine accusers?" And she said, "There are none, my Lord." And so he said, "Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more." And therefore, in the perfection of a mother's hope, there is this cosmic desire to see the Son of God manifest within the heart of every being brought into existence, whether that birth be a physical birth or a spiritual rebirth or a regeneration of the power of light and the power of love and the power of the sacred fire. Here upon Long Island, the Madonnas have wept. Why? Because they outpicture the great cosmic light and love and yearning and compassion of my mother's heart that pours out to the world and desires to give the world an eternal compassionate healing. I am beckoning, I am calling, I am enfolding all in my love and light. The Nativity is repeated oft, a scene wherein I envision the same aurora of the dawn wrapped around the enfolding head and encircling that glorious sphere, intended to be a sphere dominated by love and love thoughts. And I see and envision in each tiny life stream the glory of the risen one, the glory of the ascended one, the perfection of the immortal intelligence of God come to maturity of expression in each life stream. This is the intended perfection. This is the glory of life. No domination by lesser qualities, no submission to the fiats of mere mortals, but a recognition of that cosmic intelligence, that discrimination, that beauty, that perfection that is God. In this, O my beloved ones, is your hope and mine. It is the hope of the world. It is the hope of life in its eternal longing for itself. Come then in your hearts. Kneel at the manger of perfection. Express the qualities of adoration to the God within yourself, as the Magi of old. Know that in the magnifying of your cosmic virtue, you are expanding the cosmic virtue within all mankind. How thus can you serve better than in the pattern established by my Son, revered by myself, and adored by beloved St. Joseph, who is your own beloved St. Germain? Come then, beloved one, accept the power of love. Accept the power of love to sweep aside from the world all lesser conditions, to enfold the world in its perfection and purity, to accentuate the greatness of divinity in essence and in expression. Accept all of this and be free in the immortal perfection, the immortal beauty, the immortal establishment of God immortality among men. How else
can the earth escape? How else can men be free? How else can the glory of God be amplified? As I take my leave of you now, I wrap around this place a robe of cosmic Christ purity, a robe woven by the angels from eternal substance and made of light, woven of the love from the flame that burns on the altar of God's own heart, in the heart of the great central sun. And as I wrap this substance around you, I pray that it expand throughout the earth and bring comfort to every one, that every heart that beats with the power of Almighty God, in whom manifests a tiny expression, a threefold flame of light's immortality, there blaze forth now an added pulsation, a rising beat of hope, that men hear as though from afar, and yet near the echoes that come from our shore and our octave, and know that there beats within them a call to life, to love, to purity, to perfection, to a divine strategy that will free men from all the wiles of inequity and bring that perfect divine balance into manifestation which the angelic host used with the power of light for the precipitation of all good to all mankind at every hour, at every moment, until in the dawn of the cosmic light the portal of eternity shall enfold every life stream at birth, and all shall know their own God presence from the least to the greatest. Thus shall the cosmic mother rejoice. Thus shall our Father who art in heaven manifest his glory among men, and the rolling spheres everywhere shall express those paeans of praise and adoration to God, which make one vast harmonium, one great heart of light and love, one eternal Christ sphere of perfection. One, O God, make all one. May the Christ spirit of light and purity bless you this night, and may the earth know that I am praised. I am an ascended being, and I am praying for the world, for the perfection of men's hearts, for the establishment of their love in the spirit of divine liberty, and for the liberation of all who are bound, that the captives may go free. I thank you in the name of the ascended Jesus Christ, and I bless you with his blazing light. May this Christmas season be a blessing of the eternal Christ Mass. Peace in God's name, my little ones, children of eternity's light and love. Good night. God be with you ever.